Today our instructor is Miss Judie Fee. She comes from the medical background. She is an entrepreneur, a real estate investor, a life coach. She is someone that's always got a ton of ideas and a creative solution for whatever the impediment might be between us and our success. And this morning she's here to instruct us. Judie, how are you this morning?
Good morning, Ron. I'm doing well. Can you hear me?
I can. You sound great, Judie.
Thank you so much for the impeccable job at taking care of us every morning. I'm so grateful for you. And I actually was not going to talk about this one thing that I'm going to start with, but I'm going to go ahead and start with it. Yesterday, we were doing a comp plan training in our EMT. And good morning, Calvin. So we were doing a comp plan training in our EMT, and one of the questions came up of, in this scenario, how much did one character make? How much did another character make? How much did another character make? And the amazing Tanya Rosenberg said, with overrides, and I realized that I had not counted overrides in my math. And we talk so much about mindset. And I realized that I was doing myself a disservice, because as soon as we start thinking about bucket sales and overrides, then we can start manifesting and creating them in our lives. So on the same note, some of you have really big teams, some of you have little teams, some of you don't have a team yet, you're maybe not even qualified, but I want you to start thinking in the terms of how can you set your team up for success. And one way is great news. The early bird special for Nationals tickets expires on March 5th, which is next Monday. So there's still time to get your discounted ticket. Make sure you and your whole team knows. And those of you that want to pay the late tax, go ahead and wait till after Monday. Those of you that want to go ahead and get your tickets early for the discounted price, make sure you do that before next Monday. So on that note, I'm going to try and get my screen share happening. Yes, I want to stop the other screen share. And what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to do my desktop, and then I might do a couple different things. So we're going to start here. Okay, so what I really wanted to talk about today for your Elevate Your Success training and webinar, I think all of you maybe get it that I have conversations out in our community, which is the most amazing opportunity for me to be able to connect with such amazing people. And I think you guys know, I love you guys so much. Like every single one of you, I care about you so much, and I want for your success as much as I want for my success, right? And when I start having the same conversation pretty regularly, I'm like, oh, we should open this up to a training. We should all be having this conversation so that in case anyone wants to have this conversation but isn't talking about it, let's talk about it. And so today I want to talk about a couple different things. I'm going to throw a lot at you, and I know that you're going to hear exactly what's right for you. And the first thing I want to say is that everything I talk about, I want to come from a perspective, a holistic approach. So I'm not just talking about your marketing business or your real estate business. I'm talking about every aspect of your business, your family life, your home life, like in every aspect of your life. Are you being moral, ethical, and legal? And I'm so grateful. I feel like every time I see Mitch speak, he says this at some point. And if someone like makes a crazy joke about doing something outrageous, he says, we try to be moral, ethical, and legal here, right? So when I say this, I mean etiquette, right? So when somebody's protected, reach out to that IMA, because they give you the link when someone's protected, and you can reach out and send them a message. The message I send is something like, hey, this person would like to go to this event. Are you still working with that person, right? And then I still treat my guest, that person, as if they were my guest, as if I was going to, I send them the same emails, I send them the same follow-up. And so that's an idea or a concept of behaving the way you would want everyone in the community to behave for all of our benefit, right? If you've ever had an awful house guest, right? Like you have a house guest that's just rude, they're messy, they do all sorts of things, and all you can think is, it's throwing my whole house off. It's throwing my whole house off. My whole family is off kilter, right? And so I want, in this community, we all live in one big house together. Like we all live together. Let's all treat each other like family, right? We say family in this nationwide community. So if someone reaches out to me from another market and says, hey, I have a guest coming, can you greet them? I always do my best to do that. We all understand that with 330 people coming in every Thursday, it's hard to find the one that came to town, but still just do your best to do it. So this is something that I'm going to loop back to as we continue the discussion, but I also wanted to mention in here the mindset thing, the difference between scarcity and abundance mindset. Because if you are bending your rules or bending your integrity, are you operating out of something that looks like desperation? And of course, if you're operating out of something that looks like desperation, as far as mindset's concerned, it's repelling instead of attracting. And I hope that makes sense. So if you're trying to, I'm going to use the term poach, and I don't mean you. Let's say if somebody's trying to, I'm going to use the term poach, right? If you're having conversations with guests who have come down with other people and say, oh, you don't want to work with them. And we heard a little bit of this idea in Christian's amazing training at last Super Saturday. On these notes, if you aren't in the EMT, do the next one and never miss a Super Saturday, because these trainings are incredible. And I feel so grateful that I was there to like suck in this juicy knowledge so that I can be here and talk about it. The next thing, so in all aspects of your life, are you being moral, ethical, and legal? You're also in a contract with Renatus Corporate, right? So if you have any question about your moral, ethical, and legal, read your IMA agreement. Read your IMA agreement every year. For any updates or anything they change, read your IMA agreement every year. And if you have any question about where to find it, if you go into, let me see, I'm going to try and find it for us so that we can just do it together. See, we're in our Renatus back office. You would go under Communication, Corporate Documents. Communication, Corporate Documents, and there you go. You can go in there and read it every year, anytime you have any concerns or confusion. As you know, you probably don't want to market Renatus as a networking event. It's a really solid statement to say we have 330 investors and entrepreneurs coming out every Thursday, because anybody who goes to networking events knows how hard that is to accomplish. But saying, oh, it's a networking event, then they have the vision of coming in and passing out a bunch of business cards. And of course, in our IMA agreement, we know that we don't want to be leveraging this community to be making our money in a different business. So the next step of this, right, when you're coming in with the intention and doing your best to be moral, ethical, and legal, is due diligence, right? Are you managing your risk appropriately? And when I think about this in our marketing side of the business, I think about the idea of saying no, turning people away, right? Do you want this person to be in your family and on your team for the rest of your life, right? Because that's the intention. Do you want to be in business with this person long term? And so do your due diligence on your leads. Are these people that you want to be working with? And if you keep getting leads that you don't want to be working with, do the mindset stuff. Are you coming out of a space of scarcity and desperation? Or are you coming out of a place of abundance where you have so many leads coming your way that you're allowed to turn some away because you have all these other leads that you really want to be working with, right? In your real estate side of your business, right? Because we have this beautiful community, this amazing resource, this team of experts, and we all are watching these classes and learning more and more, and we have all of this information. So if somebody in the community comes up to you and says, I want to do a deal, or if somebody posts in the Facebook group and says, I want to do a deal, you know, who wants to do the deal with me? How are you doing your due diligence on that partner? So the first step, the very first step that I would say is talk to their 5-star. And if their 5-star is like, no, then talk to their 5-star's 5-star. And try and find out if anybody else has already done deals with that person, get some testimonials, do your due diligence. You would never, if you watch our classes, you would never jump into a deal without doing your due diligence. Why would you jump into a partnership without doing your due diligence first? It's so important. And in this same subject or topic, I also want to say that your contracts. Make sure you have A, contracts in place, and B, in those contracts, you are appropriately managing your risk. What I mean by that is, you know whose role, what role is each person's. So you know what your role is, you know what your partner's role is, you know the vision of how you're going to do this deal. And when you know the vision of how you're going to do this deal, if anything falls out of whack, you have consequences written into your agreement so that you already know what'll happen if something doesn't go according to plan. I think you guys know that I have this amazing team member, Des, who's been doing real estate forever, and she's been coaching and teaching on it as well. And I love what she says about this. She says, contracts aren't there for when everybody is happy and getting along and everything goes according to plan. Contracts are there for when things go wrong, and that way when they go wrong, we already have a course of action. We already understand what the next step is and what the consequences are for somebody who was supposed to accomplish a certain task and wasn't able to. And then when you create the contract, understand your role in that contract and follow through. Make sure that when you make an agreement, and this is the same thing when you're making promises to your team members, whenever you are in integrity with your word. When you say that you will, make sure you follow through, especially if it's in ink and you've signed that paper. Make sure that whatever you say that you can accomplish, you can and will accomplish. And this sort of loops back to moral, ethical, and legal in the way that we are huge believers in putting your best foot forward. We always, if you're marketing and someone says, well, how many deals have you done? And you're a new investor, you can leverage the team and say, my team is in tens of deals in the Salt Lake Valley at a time, right? I'm not sure if we can get up into the 3 digits, but I'm sure that soon we will. But this idea of concept of being able to leverage the team, putting your best foot forward, but still being within an honest representation of what you're capable of, right? If I don't feel like I can adequately follow through on something that a team member needs, I'll lean into my 5-star. And this is actually a good point to bring up too. When things are going awesome, tell everyone around you, right? Positivity flows sideways and down. Positivity flows through the entire group. If something is not going well and you have a really uncomfortable feeling, negativity flows up. Go up to your 5-star, go up to your leadership, and start having those conversations so that you can get the support that you deserve in situations where you're not comfortable with what's going on. And so also, if things don't go great in your real estate, corporate isn't there to sort out what happens with us and our partnerships in our real estate business and our real estate community. And that's why it's so important for us to do our due diligence and planning, because we already signed off that there's not a liability and we can't take it to the corporate office. However, we have the community, so don't be scared to have the conversation with your leaders and say what's going on and get the perspective from somebody who's been in real estate, who's seen it all, who's been in the same situation you might be in and might have a different perspective on it than you might, right? But I really couldn't drive home the point enough of making sure that you do your due diligence before you get into a project. Of course, it is merited to say to not let analysis paralysis get in your way, right? So don't do so much due diligence that you never do a deal or you never do a partnership, but definitely have the conversations that deserve to be had, or make the decision in the forefront of who you want to partner with on the deals that you get, so that you already have a plan for yourself and that way, you know, can't blame anyone but yourself when you've planned it in advance, right? Like, I know that if I bring a deal, I'm going to bring it to my 5-star, who for me is like my real estate guru. I'm going to bring it to Christian, and Christian and I can sit there and work through the numbers and the details. And I know that he's got so much experience and so many testimonials that my due diligence is already done, right? Like, I trust him with my life. And so as people who are in your classes with you, in your study groups with you, are talking about doing deals, have these conversations. On that, I think I'm going to see if anybody has questions, concerns, thoughts, feelings, fears, or feedback. Go ahead and shoot me any kind of chats. And other than that, I'm waiting for the chats to come through. Got 3 minutes left. Don't forget to get your nationals ticket. Actually, we have 3 minutes. If you haven't gotten your nationals ticket, open up your back office right now. Go into the calendar of events. No, in the very first screen, there's buy or order your national ticket in the first rectangle on your home screen. Do it now. Do it now, do it now, do it now. I heard a training one time where someone said, wake up first thing in the morning and say, do it now 50 times. And it sets you up for success in the day. Thank you, Amanda. And then I'm going to say, if nothing else pops up right now, I love every single one of you. I want for all of your success. Keep having all these conversations. Let's create a culture of transparency and talking to each other. And positivity flows in every direction. Negativity will flow up to your leadership. I love you guys so much. And thanks, Jen. See you guys out there.